Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. We are only a few days away from the start of the VCT season, and there's some further updates on the potential Johnqt not being available for Sentinels' first game against 100T. FNS believes that if Curry is to step into their roster, as would be expected despite I'm sure Tarek looking to have that opportunity, who is going to in-game lead the team? Tarek says that somebody else that isn't Curry will have to be stepping up into that role. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Various April Fool's related stuff here from yesterday, such as the following. We also got this, of course, from Derek, because there was talk not that long ago about Evil Geniuses, the whole FlyQuest situation, which never actually came true, but still funny they're joking about it, given the fact that that was maybe meant to be their saving grace from that organisation. But to be fair, that EG roster, they made it to the playoffs of the Americas kickoff, let's say, but they lost to Louds and didn't make it to Masters Madrid. Rooney, obviously, this is a joke as well. You got to be careful about this type of stuff, as we see here with Sentinels. But much else to discuss as well on the day. As Sensei, today we've made the difficult decision to release Zellsis. As you know, we came second overall in bundle sales, which is unacceptable. So they were second in the list. I'm not exactly sure whether it's second in sales or whether it's second in like how many have been equipped. They're kind of a little bit different in that sense, but it was announced by Riot that Paper X have sold the most bundles, or at least they are used the most, and Sentinels have sold the second most. So that's what Rob Moore said in the interview did a couple of days ago, that he was like, yeah, well, at least we've got something to improve on, and yeah, unacceptable from Zellsis only getting second place here, so he had to go. Pretty funny reply here from Tins as well, and yeah, I don't know if Sentinels maybe have sold the most, but yet it's not equipped as readily as the Paper X one is. There's been some debate on this, but whatever the case is, they need to do better, obviously, and therefore it's time for Zellsis to depart. But then they decided, alright, he can come back, but we're going to change his name. So some good April Fool's related content right there. I also wanted to mention though, lots of discussion on the format in the Valorant side this season compared to formats in, let's say, other FPS esports around the world. Boaster even said this a couple of days ago. Now, when Karrigan, if you guys don't watch Counter-Strike, the players, especially the IGLs, will bring a big strap back to the stage. They'll have a booklet or they'll have a notebook or something, and then have written down many ideas to bring to the table. It seems like this isn't really allowed in Valorant. It's not something that I've massively focused on or really looked for. But I guess if this is anything to go by from Boaster, Riot are considering this to be like a closed book test, you know? Like you've got to go onto the main stage and have all your knowledge in your head or in the head of your coach. Whereas in other games, you know, it's perfectly allowed to bring on a notebook to the stage. It's not helping you in the server. So I guess the question is, what is the problem? Maybe you could have a massive booklet of all different dart lineups and all this, but, you know, realistically, you would think that you should be allowed a page or two of notes that you can then talk about with your team when you want to come up with certain ideas. And that's what Boaster is hoping for, that at some point Valorant players can take their strat book onto the stage. There was also this discussion, though, on the Counter-Strike scene in terms of the amount of matches that are being played compared to in Valorant. This is a byproduct of the way the Counter-Strike system is structured compared to the Valorant scene, because in Valorant, Riot Games own the scene and they run the main tournaments. There are third-party tournaments that do happen during the off-season, but during the regular season, you know, Riot designed the format, they make that work, and they also have to consider the overlap with League of Legends. That's the other point here about the Valorant scene, is that, you know, they probably don't play as much as they could because they've got to account for League of Legends also going on as well, and not splitting viewership and making sure that the stadium is available for both things, and all this type of stuff. But the way that the CS system is structured here is pretty wild to think about, really. Like, there are so many tournament organisers that are coming into play. ESL, of course, that's really the big one. ESL Faceit, Esports Engine, group type thing. PGL, who just ran the most recent major, Blast, Star Ladder, and then of course the other majors that are happening in June and then in December. So this calendar is absolutely stacked, and well, that's for 2025, right? And even Simple was in the replies here saying, yeah, look, back at when I played in 2018, I played 253 maps in a calendar year. And there's an argument that there should be some sort of a middle ground here between playing like an absurd amount of tournaments and playing not as many, because, you know, PGL confirmed 11 tier 1 events over the next couple of years after just hosting their major. Chet, of course, coach of NRG, is like, wow. And then Chet actually replies to this and says, wow, that'd be an absolute blessing to pay that much, or to play that much. And Vibs then says, didn't NRG player cry about burnout? And Chet's like, no, who said that type thing? I think it was actually Ethan of NRG that said that he was wishing there would be more matches to play, because I think a lot of teams, let's say 100T for example, they played pretty well, I thought, in the kickoff tournament, but they had an incredibly stacked group group, they didn't make it through their group, and then they had to wait a month and a half pretty much to play again at the start of April, and even then, they don't play that many matches. So there's an argument that Counter-Strike has gone too far with this, but if that is, you know, if Counter-Strike players can handle this and it doesn't cause burnout if they handle things properly, then it certainly shouldn't be a problem in Valorant. I discussed it a while ago at the time as well that, you know, the whole burnout idea, I'm not sure I really buy it just because the players are grinding all day anyway. If you play less games, if you play fewer official matches, they're still playing and practicing all day every day and grinding out anyway. If you play matches, then you don't practice the day that you play the match. So I'm not sure that they actually play less Valorant just because there are fewer official matches to be played, and even Durka says, I wish, right? So the general feeling of the scene seems to be that they wish there was more, and maybe this is too much, and I think for a fan perspective, there is an argument that when there's so much happening of CS tournaments, it's actually quite difficult to follow and understand and keep up with and really wrap your head around who's doing well, who's winning when there's so many tournaments all the time. I think there is an argument that a middle ground could be better, but the feeling is, it seems, of the Valorant players, even Durko, and obviously we see it from Chet as well and the NRG guys, they would like to see more, potentially all the way up to this level. But I also wanted to mention what FNS had to say about the rumours on the Johnqt situation. If you guys didn't see this yesterday, Johnqt is currently in Morocco. The timing, as Tens mentioned in yesterday's video that he talked about, was that given when Masters Madrid happens, the teams that went deep in that tournament were naturally going to struggle to get their visas sorted based on the timing to get back to America in time to play at the start of the season. Visas are always a nightmare in esports, as unfortunate as that is. So Johnqt right now is waiting on a visa approval, it seems, or to get that renewed or something like that. And Ten said that, yeah, more than likely, if Johnqt is back in time, he'll be back like on the day of their first game or maybe one day before. So they will get no practice if Johnqt is there, but as we know from history, when there are visa troubles, they very rarely take less time than you expect. Almost always, they take the same or more time. So the feeling is that Johnqt might not be able to play the first game of the season. They would need a substitute at that point. Tarek would, I'm sure, maybe love to do it, but Curry is the sixth man. So he will be the man stepping in, you would presume, if this was the case. And therefore, there's been some talk as to how that might actually look on the server.
I'm just keeping mid-smoked.
No, Curry will not call. If Curry plays, he will not call.
This guy's gonna pass away, bro. I'm telling you.
I don't think. It'll have to be someone else. They're just gonna have a set game plan. Durka? Durka? Where?
10 seconds left.
Okay. Everyone wants it more than me. Man's is saving.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, Jordan, I guess. Yeah, Jordan or Sacy.
That's scary.
I don't think Clove will get that much playtime in VCT. Think about it. They just came out. Clove?
Yeah, I don't know.
They just came out and teams have already been practicing on Omen Astra for like weeks now.
Maybe not the first matches, right?
Yeah. Nothing looks like. I'm warming up. Don't be mean. I think Clove will definitely be in pro play in like 6 months' time. Only if there are certain changes, like some little buffs.
Go ahead again if you want.
Right now, unless you have a heavy util comp, the vulnerable isn't that strong.
Yes, this should do.
Any characters where you have to build your entire comp around them, it's not viable, really.
I'll get the off a plant as well.
Plus, this is an initiator heavy
we should like fight at the
meta.
CT there, Rocket and Clovo.
I'm down.
We're gonna get shit on if we just stay safe.
Feel me?
So what do you guys think about FNS's perspective here on who is going to take over this role? Because Curry is a solid player, for sure. I think they've done a stellar job here, Sentinels picking up Curry. Did a good job when he subbed in for Cloud9 last year at the Red Bull Homegrounds. That they nearly won against Fnatic, of course, as that tournament progressed. But he wasn't in-game leading that team. That's not really his role. His role is to be a good gap filler and be a talented player that can do a job. No Johnqt is a bit of a loss. I mean, a major loss. Probably the one player that you want to lose as least as possible. I'm sure he'll come back in due course. But if this is true, then they might play with Curry for a good series or two. And we'll see if they can survive on that front. Last year, when Marved was going to IGL, he did IGL for a time. There was also a feeling that maybe Sacy could do it. maybe there were other options as well. So my feeling is that possibly Sacy would step into that role. Zellsis is a vocal player. Is he a lead? Is he an in-game leader calling the strats? I'm not necessarily sure that he is. So I would probably lean the way of Sacy taking up this mantle if this is what happens. But I'm intrigued to hear your perspective in the comment section below. Just the other thing to mention there was what FNS said on Clove, an agent that has been used a lot, and we know that Tens said this the other day, that when he played ISO Tens, and that was first in the game, his feeling was, yeah, you know what, it's not actually that good. I'm winning these series, but just because I'm smoking people and shooting them in the head, rather than because the character is good. Whereas for Clove, Tens thought, actually, you know what, I am getting value out of Clove's utility here, and, well, clearly a powerful agent in ranked. Now, whether that translates is another question, because as FNS is saying, Clove, you kind of have to design the meta around Clove to some extent. And the teams recently have been practicing elsewhere, you know, using Omen Astra, using Omen Viper, like these kind of metas that have been developed over the last several months. And is Clove better than Omen? Like, I think there's a debate on that to be had. And given the fact that teams have practiced much with Omen, probably they won't quickly change their mind. But there's always an argument that the teams that do adapt well and utilize Clove in their meta, in the same way that, you know, a couple of years ago when Neon was first in the game, and Optic and Victor were able to capitalize on Neon's potential utility on maps such as Fracture to gain advantages. That was something that was kind of nice to see. And I think that the same could be true for Clove, for teams that want to, you know, give Clove a try. But my feeling is probably equivalent to FNS's, that more than likely for the start of the season, we will see what the players and teams have been practicing with. But certain teams will, understandably, push the boat out further maybe than usual. So in the various regions, things start relatively soon. The Americas starts on April the 6th. I believe the other regions start slightly earlier. I'll just have a look quickly at what's going on in EMEA, for example, which is right about here. That actually begins on April the 3rd, tomorrow, with Carmine Corp versus Giant here in a cross-group matchup to start off the season. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.